Howdy, howdy, howdy. Yes, today is National Name Your Car Day. No joke. I am not making this up. I think the powers that be at the National Day headquarters might be running out of steam because we had the National Name Your Car Day, or it's National Custodial Workers Recognition Day, which I have absolutely nothing against that, right? Or National Fried Scallops Day. So to me, I think the strangest of the bunch is National Name Your Car Day. I don't know, maybe you feel the same way. Could be. But talking about fun stuff and funny stuff, well, maybe not so funny. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer. I'm your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Welcome aboard. Today is Tuesday, October 2nd, and I am a bit late. I'm about 30 minutes late getting today's show out there, but originally there wasn't going to be a show. If you do follow The Daily Dope, you know that I had a doctor's appointment today. I've got a brand new primary care physician, so I had to go and meet with her. I got a flu shot and all these other things. I'll talk about that after I do the news. But originally I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to get a show out today. But hey, not too bad. It's only 30 minutes later than usual. So as I mentioned, today is Tuesday, October 2nd. If you're not a regular viewer, feel free to kick back, relax. This is a very casual live stream. I know a vast majority of people watch this after the fact, but I just kind of, pontificate about tabletop gaming and some geek culture, brings you some news as well. Do have some news today, but before I jump into that, do want to mention, because this is a live stream, there is chat available through YouTube. And if you have a question, comment, just want to say hello, I am going to be unboxing and taking a first look at Cryptid from Osprey Games today. So if there's anything you want to see a little closer up as far as Cryptid, be sure to chime in. I do want to point out, chat is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I kind of keep some of the stranger comments at bay, but I do keep an eye out on chat, and if you chime in, I will respond. So, want to get into the news. Not a ton of news today, but I do have some interesting news. And first up, Artana Games, I believe that's how it's pronounced, maybe Artana Games, has a new design from Scott Almes, who I'm sure most of you know, which is up on Kickstarter, and it actually tackles the earliest days of computers. Back when they were really hypothetical computing engines, in fact. And I've got the dope on Lovelace and Babbage. Play as a pioneer of early computing, such as the brilliant Ada, I almost said Alda, it's Ada Lovelace, or the marvelous Charles Babbage, to program the very first computer. Each player has their own unique subroutines, and they compete to create the best personal program. At the game's start, the computer is simple, and you have a limited number of operations, letting your individual strategy take shape. Later rounds bring enhancements to the computer for additional scoring opportunities. Your goal is to identify a sequence of engine components in real time, so your personal program generates values matching patron and subroutine cards. Doing so gains influence in 5 different areas from the patrons and unlocks expanded abilities for your programmer via subroutines. Everyone's program starts at the same place. What you do after that is up to you. As the computer evolves and your personal program choices impact everyone else, the race to see which programmer is best really heats up. Winning will require just enough speed to stay ahead of your opponents and just enough care to not go too fast. After 4 rounds, whoever scores the most points by developing their own computer program and collecting influence in various areas is declared the winner. Welcome to the fabulous world of the first computer engineers. Ada Lovelace, and Charles Babbage. There is a short Kickstarter video. It's just over a minute, so let's take a peek at Lovelace and Babbage.
Artana and tiny epic designer Scott Almes have joined forces to take you back to the dawn of computing with our newest game, Lovelace and Babbage, a 30-minute real-time game for 2 to 4 players, where you play as early computing pioneers like the queen of programming Ada Lovelace or the visionary of computing Charles Babbage. Using a shared computer, you take actions to program your own custom code in order to please influential patrons, activate subroutines, and unlock your own personal special abilities. You can pursue a strategy of speed or completeness, outfoxing your fellow programmers to become the most influential genius of the time. It's good, happy, thinky fun for gamers of all skill levels. So, what are you waiting for? Time is running out in the game and also in this campaign. Join us to share this fantastic little love letter to Ada, Charles, and innovators everywhere. Thanks so very much for your support.
Lovelace and Babbage is already about 150% funded. In fact, it funded within the first hour of going live today. And you can reserve a copy of the core game for only a $20 pledge through October 23rd. The MSRP on the base game is going to be $25, I believe. Now, I do want to point out there are other editions as well. There's some deluxe editions. There's editions that actually include artwork, art prints, things like that. A lot of stuff about Ada Lovelace as well. Ada Lovelace, not Linda Lovelace. I know, you got to be of a certain age to actually register that name. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. And I know probably some folks out there are going to see the different special editions and say, hey, wait a second. Charles Babbage is getting the short end of the stick here. All this extra, extra goodies all have to do with Ada Lovelace. And it's sort of like, well, Ada actually got the short end of the stick in history, so Charles got his own, he got plenty of play. In fact, back in the day, I'm sure a few of you out there watching this will remember the computer stores. Well, they weren't necessarily game stores like Electronics Boutique was. Babbage's did carry computer games, but they carried regular computer software as well, where Electronics Boutique was more just simply games. So Mr. Babbage got enough play in his day. All right, next up, I've got the latest release coming from Renegade Game Studios. And actually, things have been kind of quiet as far as game release news from them. And they've got a game set in ancient Rome, which is on the horizon. Here's the dope on Trajan. 110 AD, the Roman Empire is at its height of glory, ruled by the Optimus Princeps, Emperor Trajan. All the borders are secured, and the people can focus again on the empire's internal matters, Rome. Take your chances and boost your power. With the proper tactics, you may outmaneuver your opponents and eventually claim victory. Set in ancient Rome, Trajan is a development game in which players try to increase their influence and power in various areas of Roman life, such as political influence, trading, military dominion, and other important parts of Roman culture. Too bad you don't get to cross the Rubicon. The central mechanism of the game uses a system similar to that in Mancala, or Pit and Pebbles games. In Trajan, a player has 6 possible actions: building, trading, taking tiles from the forum, using the military, influencing the Senate, and placing Trajan tiles on his tableau. The game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up. It'll play in 1 to 2 hours. It will carry an MSRP of $70 when it arrives in December. I do not have an exact release date yet. Do understand, Trajan has been released, I think, twice before. I believe this might be the 3rd edition. I do know at least it's the 2nd edition because it was released, I want to say, back in 2011, 2012, and did win some awards. I got to admit, this sounds kind of interesting. I am not familiar with the original game, but I do like stuff that kind of tackles the ancient world, and I am relatively well versed in ancient Roman history. So, do want to point out, Z-Man Games has a new family-friendly co-op card game, which is going to be arriving early next year, and I've got the dope on Narabi. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. You walk slowly around the garden, stepping carefully around the deliberately placed stones. A breeze loosens a few delicate pink petals from the tree at the edge of the garden, and you smile as you watch them dance in the wind. Picking up a nearby rake, you gently push the fallen petals out of the way before dragging the rake back through the sand to recreate the elegant linear pattern. After slow and steady work moving the sand and adjusting the placement of the stones, the garden is complete, and a feeling of serenity washes over you. Creating a stone garden is a meditative experience, but it also takes concentration and the help of others. Working together, players build a peaceful stone garden with everything in its proper place. Some stones in the garden are dark or light, others are large or small. Stones will either be blank or have a value ranging from 0 to 9. Exchanging the stones one at a time, players must work toward the correct arrangement in as few moves as possible. A serene stone garden will have the stones in numerical order, either clockwise or counterclockwise. If players can achieve this order, they win. However, this isn't as simple as just handing a player a 2 for their 5. In Narabi, the stones in your garden can only be moved in certain ways. These movements are defined by the restriction cards. For example, a restriction card could say that a stone can only be exchanged with a stone that has a higher value. Another stone may only be exchanged with another stone that's numbered between, say, 2 and 6. Each stone will have its own restriction that players must follow. Pretty puzzly here, folks. With limited knowledge of other players' stones, a perfect stone garden can only be achieved through teamwork, memory, and strategic precision. Will you be able to achieve true serenity? Narabi is for 3 to 5 players, ages 10 and up, plays in about 15 minutes, and it will carry an MSRP of $14.95 when it arrives in Q1 of 2019. I believe it might be a January release, but most of the sources I've run across are just saying Q1. And I also want to point out there is a new game which is coming early next year. It's from Little Rock Games and Mercury Games, 2 companies I am not familiar with, but it does sound like this could be interesting, although I got to admit I only have 1 image. But I do have the dope on Galactic Scoundrels. Yeah! Galactic Scoundrels is a game of space western mayhem for 3 to 5 players that features gambling, lying, cheating, and low-down dirty dealing. Plus, it's in space. The game is played in a series of rounds. In each round, the players gamble to win a job. One player takes that job, then the other players play cards to stop them from finishing it. Along the way, they also try to bleed as much money from them as possible. After all, what are friends for? Jobs consist of a series of events described on cards, which a player on the job must resolve with their ship, its contents, the cards in their hand, and whatever's in their stash. Along the way, all the players tell the tale of the adventure, describing how each card advances the scoundrel's story. Galactic Scoundrels is, more than anything, a storytelling game. Sounds neat. As mentioned, the game is for 3 to 5 players, ages 13 and up. It will play in about 90 to 120 minutes. Pretty good playtime on that. As of this moment, I do not have any MSRP information or additional images outside of the box artwork, but I do know that the game will be arriving in January. Like I said, sounds kind of interesting. I guess, those of you who enjoyed Solo, a Star Wars story, which I saw, I thought it was all right. I don't know why people ripped it as bad as they did. Or maybe even if you're kind of a fan of Firefly, maybe this would kind of fall into that category. And excuse me, I got a cat hair blowing around here. The 2 kitties are are here downstairs again in the Duct Tape Studios. Although I have to admit they're both sacked out for a change. So let me actually get off camera for a second here because this is really bugging me. Wow. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, so that's it for the news today. And in just a few moments, I will be unboxing and taking a first look at Cryptid. But I did want to talk about a few things, including what's on the horizon for episodes this week and into next week on the Daily Dope. So as I open up the show, and if you watch the Daily Dope, you know, today I had a doctor's appointment. So I went and saw my new doctor, my new primary care physician. I do have an appointment with my cardiologist on Thursday. So actually I went in and I got myself a flu shot, which I've never had a flu shot before. And I figure, well, you know, I'm 50. I'll be 51 later this month. And I had the heart attack. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, getting sick, getting like the flu and stuff like that. A lot of times, a lot of the flu medications have various different drugs in them that are not good for your heart. A lot of decongestive medications have stuff that you really shouldn't be taking because it actually elevates your blood pressure and things like that. So anyway, I got a flu shot, got a tetanus shot because I couldn't remember when the last time I had a tetanus shot was. And then they did more blood workup because if you recall, I had talked about the last time I was at the doctor, different doctor, of course, and they did blood work. They said that my thyroid was a little out of whack. Nothing terrible, but a little out of whack. So I had thought maybe it was like overactive. Well, it turns out it's the opposite. So the doctor was asking me about, do I feel fatigue? Am I putting on weight? Things like that. And I said, no, my weight's kind of staying the same, which stinks. But I said, yeah, I guess every once in a while, maybe I'm a little fatigued. So they're doing a blood workup so they can check that out. But other than that, everything's good. Blood pressure was good. Everything looks pretty nice. So just want to kind of give people the update because I know some of them out there, some folks who watch regularly, are like, hey, Jeff, thanks for sharing how things are going health-wise. So second thing I want to mention is I have gotten some emails asking me if I have an opinion on the goings-on right now with Gamma. And if you're not familiar with Gamma, of course, it's the big trade association for the game manufacturers of America. They do, they're in charge of Origins. They have a trade show. Well, now it's in Reno. It was in Vegas. They have a trade show early part of the year. I think it's in March. I went to one in Vegas a few years ago. It's actually, I thought it was kind of cool. But there's been a lot of coverage over on ICV2 about some inner conflicts within Gamma. Of course, there was the big deal with Steven Broussard from Yellow and the altercation he had at Gen Con. I'm not going to rehash all that kind of stuff. But every day it seems like ICV2 has some new article that's about, oh, you know, like there's the infighting and you know, in Gamma between the members and somebody, retailers like, oh, I'm backing out of Gamma. I don't want to have anything to do with it. You guys only care about my money. You only care about the retailers when you have the trade show, and things like that. So I have had a few people emailing me asking, well, do I want to chime in? What's my opinion on this? So I have to point out, having worked in business for a long time, and I'm not talking, you know, tabletop gaming, but trade associations, you know, there's always infighting. You know, that's nothing new. There's trade shows and different trade organizations. There's always something going on. And trust me, Gamma's not perfect. I am not necessarily sticking up for Gamma because Gamma is kind of odd how they go about some stuff. But, and I'll get a little spicy here for a second. I'm just a little spicy language. ICV2 just likes to stir the shitstorm, and I swear that's what they're doing again. They did the same thing with Tom Vassell, and Tom Vassell did a video, and he talked about how, some friendly local game stores aren't that friendly, and maybe they don't deserve your business. He wasn't naming anyone in particular, and that, he was talking about like online retailers. And Tom had every right to say that, and as someone who has been around the country and who has been to lots and lots of game stores, there are game stores out there where it's like, I wouldn't be a customer here. No way. Walk in the door, they don't even acknowledge your existence. Just, completely ignore you. Treat their customers like crap. There were a couple in Arizona that I thought were big thumbs down when I lived out in Arizona. So it does happen. There are stores out there that probably don't deserve your business. But the same thing, ICV2, they were just trying to stir things up. And then of course, Tom and Gamma kind of got into it a little bit, but it was mainly because of ICV2. That's how I see this. I think, I don't know. I don't know the folks over at ICV2. I got to admit, they don't have the best put together website. I mean, it's a professional website, but they don't pay that much attention to how they kind of present stuff. Like if you click on games, like you should be getting articles that are about games. I don't know how they tag things, if it's just kind of like, willy-nilly. So you'll click on games and you're getting comic book news and movie news and game news, and it's like, but that's not games, man. If I click on movies or comics, am I getting game stuff? So, and there are a lot of game companies out there who are not big fans of ICV2 because ICV2 loves to rewrite press releases. They will not share, like I do on the Gaming Gang, and of course when I do the news, that's all press information. That's all information from the company. ICV2 likes to rewrite stuff and change things around, and a lot of companies are like, hey, you know what? Don't do that. We put together a press release for a particular reason. This is what we want out there, not how you interpret our press release. So I'm not saying I had anything really against ICV2. I'm just saying, once again, I get the feeling they're trying to kind of boost themselves up by trying to stir up a little shitstorm. And it's something that they do from time to time. This is not the first time they've done it. I don't think necessarily Gamma is right. I don't think the retailers are right. I'm sure everybody has a valid point that they're, disappointed in, like retailers disappointed in Gamma, Gamma disappointed within themselves. But I do know personally some folks who are on the board of Gamma, and, they're really great people. So I don't think it's all like, negative in Gamma's court, right? So just wanted to toss that out there, just to mention that. Like I said, I think it's just, and I believe it's a particular writer over at ICV2. I don't know for sure, because I got to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time at that website. But I was really surprised how much Gamma coverage they've had over the past 3 weeks or so. So anyway, so just tossing that out. All right, so what's coming up on episodes of The Daily Dope? So tomorrow is Wednesday, so that's Wargame Wednesday. I will be reviewing Fort Sumter, the Secession Crisis, 1860 to 1861, from my pals over at GMT Games. I've kind of held off on doing the review because I like the game, and I'll get into more detail tomorrow about it, but it is not the masterpiece that a lot of people are saying it is. It's good, but it's not great, and I will talk about that. But I'm finally, yes, I'm gonna finally review it. So then on Thursdays I love talking about RPGs, like doing reviews, taking first looks. We're gonna actually take a look at, as I review Tales from the Loop, Our Friends the Machines, and Other Mysteries. So this is the supplement for the award-winning Tales from the Loop, which you may have, if you missed on last week's show, I was talking about how there's a new sequel to Tales from the Loop that's out on Kickstarter right now for Free League, and it is called Things from the Flood. And it takes place where Tales from the Loop is the 80s, Things from the Flood is the 90s, and it's a little darker. Looks kind of interesting. So that is up on Kickstarter right now. On Friday, I am going to review Barbarian Battlegrounds from my friends over at Greenbrier Games. So I've had this for a bit. It came out recently. It hasn't been out that long. I think it came out August, late August, I think. And finally got a chance to get my third and fourth plays in of Barbarian Battlegrounds. So I'll be able to review that. And then on Monday's show, I am going to review, and this is actually a pretty heavy box, Archmage from Starling Games. This was a Gen Con release. I am not positive if this is out in stores yet, but this is the third of the trio of games that the fine folks over at Starling Games gave me an opportunity to review. Really enjoyed Black Orchestra, which is a re-release where you're trying to assassinate Hitler. In fact, I just played that again last weekend with my nephew Cameron, and we did. We got Hitler, derailed his train, but not an easy game. And of course, Everdell, which was their brand new big Gen Con release, which I think is great. Really enjoy that. That also has an expansion. I think it's still up on Kickstarter. That looks pretty cool. Pearl Brook, if memory serves me correctly. All right, so I know folks are checking out the show because they want to see what's up with this Cryptid from Osprey Games. Well, Cryptid, as mentioned, is from Osprey Games. It's designed by Hal Duncan and Ruth. I'm going to take a stab and say it's Beavers, with artwork provided by Kwanchai Moria. The game is for 3 to 5 players. It's for ages 10 and up. Plays in about 30 to 50 minutes. Cryptid is available right now, and it came out towards the end of last month, and it does carry an MSRP of $35. We're going to pop on over to the other camera here as we take a peek. I'm going to pop on the old reading specs because if you saw yesterday's show and I did my review for Legends of Andor, I had the camera way up because it's got a big board, right? I was trying to squeeze as much in as I could, and I have not readjusted the camera for a much smaller box. We're looking at this stuff. So the box is actually kind of off a bit from me. So let's get this open here. And if you don't know what a cryptid is it's a creature that people believe exists, but there's no real proof that they exist. So to kind of give you an idea of a cryptid, Bigfoot, or if there's more than one Bigfoot, they're actually called Bigfoots, not big feet. I guess you probably may not know that. The Jersey Devil would be considered a cryptid. The Loch Ness Monster, which I believe this is what that's supposed to be right on the cover. I believe that's supposed to be the Loch Ness Monster. There's the Dog Man from Michigan, or Dog Men of Michigan. I believe those are all considered to be cryptids. Cryptids are not necessarily like supernatural beings. They're just natural creatures that may possibly exist. So right here, it's actually showing us cryptid, a creature whose existence is disputed or unsubstantiated. So right there. It says you've studied the footage, connected the dots, and gathered what meager evidence you could. You're close. Soon the whole world will know the truth behind the cryptid, and you will be the envy of cryptozoologists everywhere. In this unique deduction game of honest misdirection, players must try to uncover information about their opponent's clues while throwing them off the scent of their own. Each player holds one piece of evidence to help them find the creature. Where did I see answer? Answer's not even on there. Duh. And will consistently try to eke out more information from their opponents. Guard your clues carefully, and you might make the discovery of your life. So there is an optional digital companion to help set the game up faster. I did hear something from Osprey Games saying that Osprey is not necessarily a big fan of actual digital components for a game. So it's not something you need to have. It's just to help you set the game up quicker. So I thought that was kind of cool. I gotta say, I mean, this game has some heft for a game that carries a $35 MSRP. All right, come on, box top. It's got some weight to it. You know, a lot of times we see these $35, $40, $50 games about this, you know, about this size, and we open up, you know, pick them up, and it's like, what is this? All air in here? What's going on? Hey, so I should point out, I know I'm gonna kind of go off on a tangent here. If you are interested in like cryptozoology and things like that, there's a really good podcast I listen to all the time. Now, it's not always about cryptids and cryptozoology, but Lore, Aaron Menke's podcast Lore. I'm sure some folks out there probably listen as well. You know what I might do? Each show, I might, well, or try to, for a lot of the shows during October, I should share some of the kind of spookier sorts of podcasts that I tend to listen to from time to time. All right, so we got the rule book, so let's take a look. Not a whole lot to it, so that's nice. I'm going to have to dig in. So it says, sea serpents, yetis, the chupacabra. You've studied the footage, connected the dots, and gathered what meager evidence you could. You're close. Okay, that's kind of just the same stuff we were reading off the back of the box. So the overview here, it says, you are all cryptozoologists trying to be the first to discover definitive proof of a cryptid in the wilds of North America. Each player will be given a unique clue, one piece of crucial information about where the creature lives. When combined, the clues identify a single space on the map, the creature's habitat. Each player's clue either states an area where the creature can be found or where it cannot be found, based on the terrain and structures on the board. During the game, you'll ask each other questions with the aim of guessing each other's clues. The first player to correctly use all of the clues will find the habitat to win the game. So, I do understand there was mention that this is a honest misdirection game. So, I believe what they're insinuating is if someone asks you a specific question about your clue that is like they're correct, you have to tell them, I believe. All right, so we've got the map. It's going to show water, mountain, forest, swamp, and desert, showing animal territory. So we might see terrain that is part of a bear or cougar's territory. We've got structures, so we've got standing stones and abandoned shacks. We've got some playing pieces. We've got clue books and cards. Talking about the setup. I'm talking about playing the game, using the clue books. Core principles. Here we go. So it says, whether you choose to question or search, you must obey these core principles of the game. You must be honest in placing your pieces on the map. Pieces are never removed from the map. You may never interact with a space that contains any cube. That means that you cannot question, search, or place any of your pieces on that space. Okay, nothing about the questions in here, though. Here we go. Questioning. To question, place the pawn on a space on the map and ask any other player, could the creature be here? You can choose any space to question, even one which you know could not be the habitat. In fact, this is often a good way to throw people off the scent of your own clue. The player you question must say whether the space could be the habitat, according to their clue, and places either a disc or a cube of their color on the selected space to indicate whether the creature could be there or not. If they place a cube, you must now place a cube on a different space, which cannot be the habitat, according to your clue. All right, then we got searching on honesty. Here we go. Cryptid allows room for misdirection, but the game is completely dependent on all players placing cubes and discs honestly. There you go. Figured that. I gotta be honest. I mean, really, if you cheat during a game, especially a game like this, I mean, what's the point? I never understood cheating. Now, I will point out, back in the day, I was a rules lawyer, that's for sure, but that wasn't cheating. That was just knowing the rules better than other players knew the rules. Okay, so we've got getting a hint, helpful tips, clues. possible clues. So we've got just some examples of possible clues. Then we've got hints, a whole list of different hints. Then we've got some quick reference rules. There we go. Cool. All right, now we got a little ad. Got for the Lost Expedition, which is excellent. We really, really dig that game. In fact, it is right here. And play that game quite a bit. I am really looking... I know, I'm getting off topic again. I'm really looking forward to the Judge Dredd-based game that's going to be coming from Osprey. It's designed by Pierre Sylvester, who did The Lost Expedition, but it's actually going to be the Cursed Earth storyline, the classic storyline from Judge Dredd. That looks really cool. All right, and then we've got Odin's Ravens and Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. I've heard of both of those. I am not familiar with both of those. All right, so let's see what we've got here. We've got, Habitat is. So these were the hints. Are these the hints they were showing? Yep, that's the list of hints. So we've got that here as well. We've got, I think these are considered the clue books. Yep, so everybody's going to get one of these. Oh, that's what these are. These are the clue books. And they're just, 4 pages, just paper. Treated paper. It's not just, regular paper. So we've got kind of a player aid on the back of each of these. So we should have 5. Yep, we got 5. All right, then we've got a bunch of punch boards, because I believe you're going to create the map. So we're seeing the map with the different terrain. Real big hexes here. Really, really big hexes. So we've got... What do we got? 6 of these, it looks like. Yep. Got 6 of these. Kind of a minimalist design style. I'm hoping we get to see some of these creatures. I think that should be pretty wild. Because I'm assuming each time you play, you're going after a different cryptid. So those are the punch boards with the pieces of the map. Got a bunch of stuff in here. Wow, those are big discs. So we got various different cubes and discs in different colors. Let's see what we got. All right, so we got a light blue. We've got kind of an aqua color. We've got orange. We've got red. And we've got purple. So each of the players are going to have these cubes in each of the different colors. Then we got these discs in matching colors for the players as well. So we've got all of those. Then we've got these structures, and I think these were supposed to be like standing stones, I thought it said. And then these are abandoned tents. So we've got those. I'm not sure what the difference in color might represent. So we've got that. And then we've got a deck of cards. Let's see. And of course, each of the players, their clue book has a letter on it. So we've got Y, B, S, E, and A. And I do notice that we do have columns on some of these cards, if not all of these cards. Yep. Well, okay, so we've got map areas here. So we've got, and these are all different. And some have black borders. Others have kind of clear borders. Not sure what that might represent. Huh. That is interesting. All right, so we've got all of those. And then on the other side of these cards, we see these numbers. And then we also see these different columns. So with A, B, Y, S, and E. I do not know what that would mean. Of course, I haven't read the rules, just kind of took a peek at these. Oh, you know what? I bet these numbers correspond to the hints. That is going to be my guess. That is my guess right there. Now, what the map means, I don't know, because these are all different. They're all different configurations of the map. I don't know. Interesting. Cool. All right, so we've got the deck of cards. We've got the various different tokens. We've got the cubes and the discs and the standing stones and the abandoned tents. We have the 6 punch boards, or these are gonna form the map. We've got the 5 different clue books, as well as the pretty quick rule book. All of, what was it, 12 pages? Maybe 14? No, not numbered. All right, well, I think it's about 12 or 14 right there. And that is what we find when we take everything from Cryptid outside the box. As I mentioned before, Cryptid is for 3 to 5 players, ages, I believe it was 10 and up, and plays in about 30 to 50 minutes. It is out right now. It does carry an MSRP of $35. I've actually heard some good buzz about this game. So Osprey makes some pretty cool stuff that flies under the radar. Now, there were some games that I've reviewed from them that I thought were just okay, but there's others that I played that I thought were awesome. Lost Expedition is one. I'll give you a great example. I love that game. My nephew and I love that game. In fact, there might be a little camping going on, like the last camping trip of the year. And Cameron and his friends usually, they'll be there. I've been invited to go Saturday. I will probably bring Lost Expedition with, because we like it. We enjoy it, and it's fast, and it's cool, and we lose it a lot. We don't win very often, so it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I will have a review of Cryptid in the very near future. So that is it for today's show. Do want to point out that because it's October and over on the Gaming Gang, I used to do the Spooktacular where I would share old-time radio shows that were scary. I am not doing a Spooktacular this year, but I am tweeting every night a link to one of the shows that I had previously shared. Last night I did 3 Skeleton Key, starring Vincent Price from Escape. And it's a pretty creepy episode. It's a pretty creepy story. So check it out. If you're not following me on Twitter, by all means, check us out. It is at The Gaming Gang. Anyway, speaking of The Gaming Gang, when you're not watching videos on The Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Come on, by now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I will be back tomorrow, and I will be reviewing Fort Sumter, the Secession Crisis, 1860 to 1861, from GMT Games. So until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.